All right, good day, ladies and gents. Welcome to the home studio. So, Live the Fuel fans, we've been launching some new live stuff here at the home office here in 2024. And today I'm bringing in a return guest co-host, local friend of mine, colleague, all the things. Recent Men of Mindset attendee, Coach Rob Eschbach from F13 Performance. Welcome to the home.
Thanks, this is nice. So we've done,
right.
Wow, so we've done 4 podcasts now. 2 at my gym.
Okay.
1 in your garage.
Yeah.
Is number 4.
And now in the home studio.
In the home studio.
This is now the second time ever in the home studio.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing, the command center, which you can't see off camera, that's where most of the stuff happens over Zoom. But I was like, this is the second largest bedroom that I took over as an office when we moved here. And I said, what if I did stuff in the home office? So we're still feeling it out, but it's spacious enough, right?
Yeah,
it's okay.
Great.
Give me an excuse to use the bar stools, and then spend more money on microphone stands. So
anyway. I have a list of equipment now I need to buy for my house. Like, we're going to take pictures before I leave. And
yes, if anybody ever needs an excuse to spend money, just come to my home studio, and if you like electronics, audio gear, custom sound dampening panels, I've done a lot of research and a lot of investment in audio quality over the years. Because this show was launched back in 2016 at the old house, which you never made it to, with the old original Man Zone garage. So, back in the day.
I think that's probably when we did our first podcast, probably 2016.
Dude, is it that far back? Holy crap.
Yeah, it's been a while.
That's impressive.
My first podcast ever was with you, and it was at the gym, and probably
yes,
8 years ago.
Whether it's appropriate or not, because I have no rules in this show, I popped a lot of cherries in the podcast world. And it's because a lot of people, actually it's a great way to start the show off. There's a lot of fear in the world. And maybe now more than ever because of just all the craziness going on in the world. And, Rob, you and I have connected and gotten a lot deeper in our friendship over the years because you have to learn to grow beyond that.
100%.
Right? So let's look at that simply from podcasting. Why are people afraid to go on a podcast? Well, you and I were, just talking, and I was like, well, then I'm just going to come here and we'll do a podcast right here. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All you had to do was say yes.
And that's all. I mean, I'm someone that's going to say yes to just about anything because I'm all about growth, new experiences, moving forward. And if you don't say yes, you never move forward. You stay where you're at. So yes, that first podcast, and now 8 years later, and I don't know how many podcasts deep, I'm considering starting my own.
I'm excited for you.
I'm excited too. I have a list of co-hosts I want to work with. I've talked to already. Done some research on gear, and I'm going to take pictures of your stuff, and I'm going to go buy gear. Not sure we're going to have. I think it's going to be an in-home studio similar to this, but I want to be able to travel with it. And like you did with the garage, the Men of Mindset podcast we did there, which was awesome. Stuff in the gym. I've done other people's houses, some nutritional podcasts, and coaching, mindset, you name the topic. I've said yes to them, whether it was in my comfort zone or not.
Oh no, I make the joke when I put the book out, I got invited on some romance podcasts.
Whatever.
And I was like, what? And they were like, no, we love that little story you put in there, which my wife Kristen hated that I put it in there, but
I will say, knowing you and Kristen very well, romance is the first thing that comes to mind.
Oh yeah, right. But yeah, she's like, why do you put me in your book? I'm like, well, you're part of my transformation, my growth, right? As I said in the book, pulling my head out of my ass. And I think everyone in our lives, we need that one person, sometimes multiple, to help us pull our said head out of said ass. Yep. And she was one of the big players. Ergo, my wife. Mm-hmm. So, and one of your most loyal clients and friends at the F13.
Yep.
So
she's a client at the gym, and she's a friend.
Yeah,
and her and Reva.
Yes. Sometimes I feel like Reva has higher point value than both of us combined, which is
she does.
Again, anybody knows our dog. She's adorable.
Yep.
But the mindset thing of saying yes.
Yeah.
I thought of that years ago. I said yes to myself with the podcast. I said, well, I needed a way to just empty my brain. I always had all these ideas and inspirations. And I said, well, you got to literally put in the reps, right? So it's okay, well, just like going to a gym or my own gym in the barn, right? It's just, I got to start going through it. And in the podcasting world, it's funny. People say they're going to do it. And I forget the exact statistics, but I've spoken at multiple podcasting conferences over the years too. And the most common thing is there are thousands of shows started every single day. And maybe you pull the trigger, maybe even get a logo done, maybe you actually reserve it in the online space. And then if you're actually motivated enough, you may record a couple of shows.
Right.
Then there's thousands of shows who never even put out the content. They're afraid to put themselves out there.
And it's one of those things, like, you know, one thing most people hate more than anything is the sound of their own voice. Mm-hmm. That was the hardest thing for me. If you have a podcast voice, you have that deep baritone voice that sounds great over a microphone.
And I never knew that.
And I do not. I have a higher pitched, more nasally sounding
the power
voice
of editing,
not great.
The power of editing nowadays, you get a great editor, I mean, you can make yourself sound like anything.
That's with public speaking and running courses and coaching. That was one of my biggest hurdles to get over, was the sound of my own voice. So what I do to get over that, I recorded myself giving presentations while driving my truck or in front of a mirror.
Which I've watched them on YouTube.
Or just doing them. I did that 52 weeks of recording, driving to work, riding to work with Coach Rob. Mm-hmm. And I made sure I did it every week for a year straight. Not for content creation, not for anybody else. Yes, there was good content there.
I never asked you about that. I was wondering why you were doing
that. I 100% did that selfishly because I wanted to get better at presenting and speaking and then hearing the sound of my own voice and getting used to it. Mm-hmm. So I recorded myself, and that day I would pull into work, I would sit in the truck and make sure I posted on YouTube even before I went into the office.
Yeah, I love that because I was pretty solid for the first 4 or 5 years. I would listen to every one of my own shows. Yeah. And a lot in the podcasting world, I found out that is very unusual. A lot of podcasters, once they record their content, they get it out and they're done. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I'm that same. I mean, my own wife says I'm a hair OCD. Maybe it's the search for perfection, whatever that is. But I was like, no, I take pride in everything I do. Maybe to a point of obsession. But I was like, okay, well, I want to know how I sound, and I want to know, am I over talking too much, and that's always. By the way, that's very, very hard. The whole format of this show is co-host, so I've only put out a handful of solo episodes over all these years, and we're coming up on at least 500 shows this year. And it's like, dude, I've done very few solo episodes. Mm-hmm. It's weird doing a solo episode. Yeah. I'm used to just hanging out and talking to people, which is what I love to do. Right. And that's not a big deal. But then you hear and you learn that once you get your own show, you're like, okay, there is a different protocol here. Mm-hmm. There's that pause. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to overtalk each other. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's okay, but just be mindful that if you're going to do a co-host show, there's two people. Right.
It's one of those, and that's just not. It's not even on podcasting and talking in real life. Like, you could easily overtalk someone, and something you have to be conscious of. Then you find out I was at a friend's house over the weekend, actually in a garage, having some beers and a cigar, and
that sounds like a nice pairing.
Yeah, it was very nice. But even in those settings, you can find yourself when stories start flowing, and people are talking about things, and you're telling a story, or someone's telling a story, and you can relate to it. You have one similar that you want to share. A lot of people will just interject instead of having that pause, letting the person finish, and then deciding whether or not it makes sense in that area or in that space for you to share next.
You know, the first thing that popped in my head just now was, and I never did these as a kid, but when I went to school, there was something called debates. There was debate clubs. What was it called? Debate clubs?
I think it was debate club.
Was it club?
Yeah, it was a thing.
Now, admittedly, if you were a jock, I think that was looked at as being geeky or more academic. I don't know. I didn't care. I was the kid who grew up on a farm, so who was I? But it was that element of, okay, usually people in debate club were of a higher intelligence standards, right? They 100%. Were shooting for collegiate goals, right? Or maybe future professors, whatever they were. But I don't even know if that exists anymore. I mean, you have kids. Your kids are young.
They're
right
young,
now, but
yeah, I wouldn't know.
I don't think debate programs exist, because if they did, and again, I don't talk about religion or politics on this show, but if they did, I think we might enjoy the political process a little bit better these days, because nobody knows how to have a healthy conversation. And it's almost obnoxious and abusive when you do see it on the news. And it's like, pause and let the person get the thought through before you judge it. And again, it's okay if you don't agree on things, right? Like my shirt. Not everybody's going to agree with this shirt. By the way, this was a great psychological experiment.
I saw that. I loved it, by the way.
Right?
Yeah.
So For the listeners, I'm wearing a 100% non-vegan shirt, and I have no problem hiding that on this show. And if you're a vegan who listens to this show and you take offense, get over it. So, because again, you're never going to agree with everything.
Pause there.
Right?
So there's probably that could be the issue, or something that should be recognized with debate.
Mm-hmm.
We can disagree on something.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
Is
There's
it?
nothing that's cool.
But is it?
Yeah.
Because some people can't.
Stop taking it personally, man.
Right, exactly.
Like, holy crap.
It's
that easy.
The world is full of millions of people, all walks of life, all types of culture, right? All types of religion, all types of educational backgrounds, all types of upbringings. We're never supposed to agree on everything.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of diversity,
Yep.
right? So it doesn't matter your religion, your political, it's like, dude, just have a healthy conversation. And if you can get through it together, and you're going to maybe disagree. This happens in business all the time, by the way. Do you think I agree with every single business consultative meeting that I've ever had? Absolutely not. We're going to hit some bumps in the road. But the professional experience for both parties, or if you're in a group of CEIOs, which I'm in often, is, are you at least entertaining that endeavor with an open mind? Do they pick up on that, right? Are you giving off the right energy, or do they feel like you're a brick wall? Because I'll tell you right now, as a high-level sales consultant, if I came across like I'm a brick wall, I would not be as successful as I am today.
You're not going to be in sales if you're a brick wall.
No. Because it's some people call it the game. Yeah. Some people call it just the negotiating process. Whatever it is, it's the openness of exchange. I want them to be as open as possible because very often, you probably have experienced this with all your years of health and fitness too.
Yep.
If you let the client or the person in that conversation get their thoughts out, they end up giving you more information to work with than they even thought they were. And as a professional, then you're the one who picks up on that.
Yeah, could you imagine being a coach who actually listened to your clients?
That sounds pretty crazy.
Yeah. So I have a client right now who I'm working with, and she was with a personal trainer for a long time. That person moved. She had to find a new personal trainer. Went into a big box gym, a global style gym, and was assigned a personal trainer, a female, who walked in and said the client said what she liked, and the personal trainer said, no, we're going to do this because this is what I do. I'm like, what'd you do? She's like, well, I left. It's like, yeah, get out fast. Like, how fast can you run? Right. But as a coach, in both the mindset, life coaching part of my business and the fitness part of my business, it doesn't matter which side of the spectrum you're on. You got to listen to your client first and then respond in an appropriate way, whether it's with fitness or movement or asking the right questions when it comes to the mindset or lifestyle coaching. Listening to what they have to say first, understanding it, processing it, and then responding correctly is what matters. Yeah.
Knowing, one, that person as the client, they got to know that they're working with somebody who is open-minded, and they are going to adapt to where they're at, because especially if somebody's going through major weight loss goals, or they've just come out of, let's say, a traumatic relationship, and they're trying to rebuild who they are. Because I've had all these conversations over the years. Like, I don't run a professional gym, but I have worked in multiple fitness domains over the years in my free time. I've been in spinning, and I've been in CrossFit, and I've been a ski race coach, and I've been in that world. And whether you're talking to youth athletes or adult athletes or just regular everyday people not trying to be an athlete, they just want to live a better life. If you're working with somebody who's, not teaching down to you, but teaching to you, with you, that's more powerful. If you're always feeling like you're being bossed around, right? That's not a successful relationship that's being built, right? I mean, unless you're looking for that. Maybe you want to be told what to do. Some people are into that more commanding style.
Well, you can be told what to do, but as long as you're being told what to do that is relative to your goals and your direction. You can be told the wrong thing because the coach didn't listen or only knows one way to do things, and if that doesn't fit your path, that's not going to work for you. You got to be told the right thing. So you can have people like, listen, I have clients like, hey, listen, I'm a big dumb animal. Just, this is my goal. This is where I want to go. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. Cool. But I had a conversation about the goal, the direction, the timeline, the available time to train, life stressors, and what they have availability mentally and emotionally as far as space goes, because I know how hard to push them to head towards that goal. I can't just say, okay, cool, your goal is to run a 3-hour marathon. Cool. Awesome. This is what you got to do. If they didn't tell me that you can only train 2 days a week because they have to run their kids 50 different places, they have a job where they start at 5 a.m. and they work until 8 p.m. every day, they don't eat correctly, whatever all those other things are, it doesn't matter what I tell them. And they can be, I'm a big time animal, I'll do it. Well, I could be telling them the wrong thing. Then overtraining, injury, stress, depression, all that stuff leaks in because you didn't ask enough questions and or listen to your client.
Yeah. Actually, I will agree with that. The initial Q&A process is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And that's sales 101. Just because you have a great product or a service that you're trying to hopefully sell to somebody, it's just like in the dating process, right? Like, I remind people that everybody's a salesperson. Sorry, whether you realize it or not. Every single human being on this planet has done some form or fashion of sales in their life. It could be lying to your parents when you were a kid that you didn't break something or crashed the mom's car into the side of the garage, or dating. Hello.
I was gonna say, right? If you have a significant other, you sold yourself to them.
Clearly, you had a decent sales pitch, or they just felt bad for you. And
I think my wife felt bad. Let's be honest about it.
I think both of ours did. And somehow that level of a sales pitch worked. Go with it.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly you got kids together. I mean,
about to have a third.
And you got a third one coming as we're recording this. So,
Friday.
By the way, congratulations.
Yeah.
So,
by the time this comes out, I'll have three girls.
Now, obviously, if you talk to my wife, she'll be happy to not agree with that. But as friends, we will support you in your endeavors.
I appreciate it.
The non-parental, non-childbearing couple will always support our friends in some way. But initially, Kristen's usual response is, what's wrong with you?
She said, ew. She said, ew.
Ew? Oh, ew. Ew. Okay.
That's what she said when I told her.
She's being nice.
I laughed. Right? I expected that. I think I told her just to see what reaction I got from her.
See, here's the thing. You already got two.
Yeah.
So the ew is more realistic. Now, when our younger friends are about to have their first, that upsets her more. Because then she thought that her sales process might have kept them from going down that path.
Well, she just lost a ski buddy then, or a wine drinking buddy. That's how she looks at it.
Yeah. So shout out to our friend Nathalia. She's...
Oh, that's right. She's going
to have one. So I was like, she was really hoping to keep her on camp, Kristen. And I was like, that's not happening. So, but again, that's that point, right? It's meeting people where they're at.
Yep.
Building that comfortable relationship. So they actually have something to work with and someone to want to work with them. And that's one of the healthiest first steps. And that, again, this can apply to business. This can apply in a gym environment. This can apply the one-on-one coaching world that you do, right? It's like, obviously you have a gym you run, but you have great head coaches now. You have a great staff. Like, you're doing a lot of things outside of F13, right?
That's the goal, yeah.
Yeah. So, because I had, would you call Mark a mentor then? Or what's...
Mark was
he was on the show.
He was my teacher, my coach, mentor, leader, friend, all those things.
You guys just ran a kick-ass event, a few months back. So.
Yeah, in Richmond, Virginia, we did a multiple 3-day event, 3 days, 7 venues. Yeah,
we had a goal to do this podcast right after that.
It was so good. We did Men of Mindset right after that.
I know. Yeah.
So we did a group podcast instead. Yeah.
So, by the way, another quick tip in life. Adapt and roll with it, because technically he was supposed to come here the night of the Men of Mindset thing. That was the first episode we released for 2024 because I had a whole bunch of cool men like Rob here hanging in my barn, and I was grilling steaks, and then we decided to record a show. Technically, that was just supposed to be you and me that night grilling steaks and recording an episode, and then it turned into a 6-man event, which is awesome because now I'm pumped with it.
Do it again.
And I think we all took a lot out of that.
I walked in and I said it on that podcast. So if you haven't listened to that podcast, go back and check it out. It's a great episode. But I sat in a room with these leaders, these men that have just extraordinary stories, where their background, where they came from, where they existed, and how they exist now. And you learn a lot. And you're humbled in a room of men like that have stories and experiences, and personal and professional. And I sat there, I'm like, do I belong here? Like, you have that imposter syndrome link in real quick. I'm like,
you were one of the quieter guys.
I am a quieter guy. I am naturally a quieter guy. I'm an observer. I always have.
You were taking it all in, man.
I took it all in. I remember leaving and driving home that night and calling my wife. I'm like, that was empowering. It was cool. I'm like, I felt honored to be included with that group of guys, because there's some just phenomenal stories and just great people.
Well, and that's the cool thing about your and my relationship is that, now obviously I'm the host, right? So obviously I got to play some level of I don't know what you call it, leadership or at least direction, right? I've been running the podcast all these years. I do this stuff all the time. So automatically I know that besides manning the grill, I'm going to have to at least get things flowing and keeping it moving. But then one thing I've learned over the years is once you get people like fired up and they feel like they're in a safe place, it's just going to crank. And that's what I was excited for that night, because I was like, dude, Rob's got his game down. He's a great coach. He's a great leader. I'm not worried about him. Technically, really, you're the other major shout out from that, because you and I were just talking the last time I dropped in the gym, and then we were talking about doing stuff like that. And you're like, dude, we got to get like a bring together people
group,
or something. And then that's when it all clicked. And I was like, all right, let's try this out. Will they show up?
We stood there in the doorway of my gym, and because you had just went to a presentation that weekend.
Unite and Conquer.
Yeah,
Brad's event.
You went to Brad's event that
Shout
weekend.
out to Brad Modrich here in Allentown, PA.
Yeah, you went up to Brad's that weekend, and we were just brainstorming back and forth. The idea of a group came out instead of an individual, and that's where that whole thing started. Just standing there, bullshit in the doorway of my gym.
Did I ever tell you who actually got this idea going before you?
Who?
Rob. Baskin. Baskin. Shout out to Rob if you see this, bro.
Yep.
Fellow guy who drops. Does he still drop in? He doesn't live here. He lives much more.
He's a cabin guy now.
He's up north. He's got the lake house. But Rob was like, he brought up this, just bringing men together, even just his friends, just to hang out without the podcast. Just like, hey man, we just need to like grill steaks and just have a safe place for guys to get together and just connect, because girls are much better at it. He's like, all of our wives have no problem getting together, cracking a bottle of wine or going to a winery. And I was like, you're right. So technically, Rob, because I got to give him a heads up for the next event, because I want to make sure he comes, because he's actually a high level performer, dude, in the professional space.
100%.
Yeah. So really, this came from him, but that was just really an inner circle friends thing. And then once I talked to you after Brad, and it's a cascading thing, right? So I was like, wait a minute. People who know how to talk, people who know how to listen, guys who are performing at a different level than we were years ago, right? Because it's not really about us. It's just being able to reflect back on mistakes we've made, things we've learned from, but then having a safe place to share it. Like, I mean, my hair is standing up my arm. It was a great night. And I was like, dude, all right, let's figure this out. And for the first night, I was actually pleasantly surprised. I mean, I had to drag my grill from the back of the house down to the barn, because I had to do it down there for some reason. I didn't have to.
No, you need to.
I needed to. I mean, there was a smoke infusion. There was some steaky fumes coming into the barn. It was
as much like modern but Neanderthal as it could be.
All right.
There were steaks.
Because I felt bad about the smoke.
We were in a garage / cave. It was so primal in all the right ways.
Okay, because that was a total accident. Because I'm like, okay. I went in, I see the haze in there. I'm like, oh crap, am I smoking guys out? So I'm cracking the garage doors. No. And we had very little steak left.
Yeah.
And I grilled a shitload of steak. I mean, it was shout out to the butchers at Costco, because I couldn't even grade my own freezers. I went like super thick cut. Had them. I mean, it was legit. There was a lot of meat going down. And I remember, because I went back and watched the video. Shout out to Andre Young, another amazing man who came out. He came all the way from Reading. All right, this guy travels all over the world speaking to companies, and You Evolving Now is part of his brand, and Men Evolving Now is part of his brand. And that guy rolls up his beautiful buff butt. I mean, that guy's like, dude, he's jacked. Yeah, strong kids and football and everything else. Anyway, he comes all the way from Reading. I was like, he actually showed. I didn't think he was going to go, but he's one of the early guys that came on this show as well. He's been on multiple times. I love connecting with him because of his counseling background and his prior career history before becoming a speaker. And like you said earlier, it is cool to see how people have transformed, but then it's also cool to hear the backstories. Like, great people like Warren Buffett, people at the billionaire level, right? Most of those dudes and women, most people at that level, when you get them into a room, they're not talking about their latest success.
Not at all.
They're usually chilling out, listening, and then if somebody asks them the right question, they're usually going to share that one time that didn't work, or that company that failed, or what they learned from that company that had to fold or be merged, and all of these cool stories. And that was the cool thing I enjoyed about that night was, one, you and I were going to do something like that anyway.
Yeah.
Then two, I was like, okay, thanks to Unite and Conquer, I knew I had Brad in on that.
Right.
And then I had just met Wes. I hadn't even known Wes. Shout out to Wes Mars, right?
Rockstar, absolute rockstar.
Rockstar. His transformational story was like mind-blowing. So we just recorded with him last week, so I haven't aired that episode yet. He was the first one in studio here. And then Dale. I went to high school with Dale.
Yeah.
And he's a high-level, high-performing, like, property flipping real estate guru, Realties 365, I think is his name. And I didn't know about his childhood. I didn't know about the father and the mother thing and all of that. So this past week I was traveling. I was out in Arizona for the Hot Shots reunion.
Right. Yep.
So on the plane, I downloaded the episode so I could listen through the episode again because I wanted to get that fire fired up again. We committed to do a quarterly event. We're going to do it.
Right.
We just committed to a date coming up here in March. And I was like, just listening to that again and hearing the different parts that I might have forgotten or just maybe skipped over too quickly. And stories from you, story from Andre, Brad, Dale, right? I was like, dude, Andre, me. I was like, this was awesome. And
it was really cool. It's amazing with everybody's background and experience and how they present what they do as professionals, how well everybody kind of gelled, related, and then shared experiences and expertise within the group. Yeah, it was cool. It was a great learning experience for me, and I'm looking forward to the next one. I'm trying to free up my calendar the best I can to make sure I can be here.
You're about to be Dad tripled. The trifecta is about to be unleashed. Yeah. So, and that's why I said, dude, I will figure it out. I'll get you on Zoom if it makes your wife happier and you're there. Yeah. I'll make it work. If you need to dial in early.
Luckily, I have a rock star, an amazing wife that if it's important to me, she'll support it. So.
Yeah,
but again, as long as everything goes smooth and this week, I'm going to do my best to be there for sure.
Yeah. Well, and thank you. But I mean, as a friend, I also say, well, great. If virtual works out, it just gives me an excuse to figure out more gear and more geeking. And actually, I think I already had everything I need to figure that out. Yeah. But that being said, the part of stuff that I brought that into today's episode is because it's been fun watching you grow over the years. Because I just think of how the gym had started. You weren't even an owner yet when I started dropping in. I think I was still coaching in Bethlehem. Yep. And then when my wife and I were getting more serious, she was leaving a different facility to come to you guys. Right. And then a bunch of people came with her. Correct. And then you became an owner. And then after, it was 5 years for the rebrand, right? 5 years in?
So we were open in 2014 and then rebranded, I think actually 2017. So only 3 years to rebrand. Yeah. That was the original plan when I started the business, was a 3-year cycle. Yeah. And then rebrand and re-release. Now, we then we kept the same name and brand, but updated the brand.
Well, you were always the F13, but it was First 13 Athletics.
Yeah, we updated the brand in 2019.
And the CrossFit branding made sense for SYR CrossFit because, and it's still a quote-unquote viral brand that people follow and they're drawn to. Yep. But again, if you truly are following functional fitness, you're just paying for the licensing, right? I always tell people that. It's like, CrossFit's just a brand. Everybody can do what they're doing. Now, granted, they've rebuilt again. The new leadership, a video I just watched yesterday, they were really talking about the community. I don't know if you saw it on Instagram.
They're trying to get, so they lost, when the sale happened, I feel that the newer owners were trying to find their way in messaging, and
they needed to.
Yeah, they needed a reset. The business as itself, I think, needed a reset, and they're finally now coming back around to where it started, the community and the beginner level, and professionalizing coaching a little better. Because I know you have your CFL 1, and that was a cert that was great as a professional coach. Mm-hmm. I didn't agree with the fact that you could own a gym and run classes with just an L1.
I agree with that. Yeah.
You can argue it, I get it, but my personal opinion, I think you should be required to have more experience.
And even the CFL 2, I looked at it as a business consultant. I rose out of that, and that's why I never continued on. I'm like, look, one, I didn't care about building my own programming. I trusted the programming, and I did do my own stuff. But you guys you were already building great programming on your own, so the CFL 2 made sense. But one thing I always saw that they missed, and I don't know if they're doing it now, was the business ownership level of leadership and consulting. Lots of very passionate coaches, CFL 1s, and trainers decided, I want to own my own gym. and it's great, right? The business model is like to just find a warehouse or a garage somewhere.
It's
and
it's a low barrier of entry business.
Yeah.
But the longevity part of it's really, really tough if it's just a passion project, which is how I feel most of them started.
Well, and look at how many facilities in our greater Lehigh Valley here in Pennsylvania. Over the years, we've watched them come and go. I mean, my very first facility, I was the very first member when they opened it. Then those owners split. Then it became two separate gyms, right? One went one way, another group went another way, and then they started growing. And then there was rebrands there, and then owners split again and changed again and moved. And that's just in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, right? So then, not including Allentown. So we see these businesses coming and going. And this is the part of Regular Business 101. It's a great point of discussion. Not all businesses are meant to survive.
No.
Right?
Most don't.
As a leader and as an owner needs to become a leader. Not just from a personnel standpoint, but also if you're truly trying to build a business. I've really simplified business, and I would love to hear your feedback on this. There's two ways to build a business. Are you building it as a legacy that'll be passed on or moved through the community? Like you could eventually sell off to your head coaches or something like that, and they will continue that on.
That's the goal.
Or are you building it just to be sold off, right? Yeah. There's lots of businesses, especially in the investment firm world. Like a lot of people don't know this. I do a lot of my primary income stream is the HVAC industry. Everybody wants hot air in the winter and cold air in the summer. Yep. The biggest thing I've been watching is these investment firms snatching companies up. And I'm talking about contractors. Like just in the past 3 months here, 3 major HVAC contractors in the Lehigh Valley, they also have their names, but they're not owned anymore by themselves. They all been bought out.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Now, because the investment firms see the money, these are multi-million-dollar businesses, and they're reaching a point where if the owner, let's say sons and daughters, don't want to take the family business any further, and it didn't develop it as an ESOP model where it's an employee-owned stock, well, now you're basically ripe for, hey, do I want to retire with a lot of money? And they just flip the company.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's what you want to do.
There's nothing wrong with that, right? And the problem is I've also seen a lot of companies that were trying to build a family legacy business, and it wasn't working. And then they're like, listen, I can't keep this going forever. I'm going to flip it. I got a big offer. Yeah. And so for example, we all know what Ace Hardware is.
Of course.
Did you know Ace Hardware has another investment firm arm?
I did not.
Ace Hardware is buying up contractors.
Smart.
But if you go to an Ace Hardware, there's no HVAC.
No.
I don't understand it. I'm studying this right now in my free time. I'm like, why would Ace Hardware, which is a franchised model style hardware store, right? Individual owners owning a branded store to build their own legacy, their own business, but there's a higher level of Ace Hardware, I guess, that is now buying up HVAC contractors.
No kidding. I frequent Ace Hardware.
I'm a regular.
I had one right by my house. I go to all the time.
So I had no idea. I hit the one right here, and then I had the backup one down the road from your gym.
Yeah.
So I was like, what? I learned this like 2 months ago. Nobody understands why. Obviously, they see the money. And so there must be another whole side of that company that we don't know about. My point is this. How are you building your business? Are you building it from a leadership standpoint to be passed on? Or are you building it just for a flip and a sell? And do your customers see that? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of variables that come out of that.
Yeah, I've recently pulled out of my business a little bit. I didn't pull out of my business. I'm still in my business. Yeah. But now I do 2 days work remotely. I don't go into the gym on Monday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
So that business can grow and evolve without me having to be there for 8, 10, 12, 15, 16 hours a day. Now the coaches and full-time employees that we have run, manage, and operate that business. So now I am free. I had a meeting yesterday about a gym in Whitehall. Mm-hmm. I have the second location in Wyomissing. Will be opening up in June. We just got some permits taken care of. So now I can spend time growing the legacy, growing the business, and not stuck in that everyday grind of operating a business.
Well, and if you listen to a lot of these high-level speakers in the business world, they'll tell you, you'll reach a point where are you still working in the business or are you working on the business, right? So that's where you're at. You've reached that growth level, and you've been hammering against that wall for a while. Yeah. I've watched you. I was like, dude, you've needed to just pull that trigger for a while.
Well, it's also one of those things, like, it's hard as an owner to step back and be like, all right, cool, I'm going to trust someone else to take something that I've dreamed about since I was 16 years old, and I created, and I'm like, cool, guys, you guys run it for me. You good? Like, It's hard. It's more of an ego thing. It's a hard thing. Like no one else can do this as good as I can.
Because it's not just about the salary either, right? It's like you got to pay people to replace yourself, right? There's that piece, right? Overhead.
Yep.
But it's like you can't just pay anybody to do that.
Yep.
Do they have the passion? Do they have the alignment with the culture? You know, and it's not about making a mini you.
Yeah. No.
It's like no. Do they align enough to carry the brand forward? Yep. You know, the mission forward.
Well, that's one of those things too. As an owner, like. You walk into a lot of these gyms or small business, like, all right, what is your brand? What's your message? Who are you? So I was going and what our values are so they can implement those without me being there. So the clear direction and clear explanation of your brand and values is what you need to do first. So you can then pass it on to the people that are going to operate your business for you so you can grow and expand.
Well, because eventually you do have to replace yourself.
Yeah. If you have a business that doesn't operate without you, if you do go to sell, all you can sell then is the hard goods, the equipment. You can't sell a business because the people that will buy it aren't buying you.
I've had this same discussion with Kristen. Like eventually, my wife is a horse doctor, and I said, I love your passion. She's great with animals, but I mean, did she ever want to be a business owner? No. Her and her partner who started that company almost 10 years ago, they were working with for basically a dick. I didn't know the guy, but the guy was not a good person to work for. Right. So they said, this sucks, let's just start our own business.
Right.
And they took a risk and they did. But now, 10 years later, do you want to be working in the business? Do you want to be doing something differently? She's a chiropractic doctor. Right. She loves the wellness side. I said, well, we love skiing in Colorado. There's a lot of bougie people with money and fancy horses out there. What if we replace you, with a couple more great doctors, which are hard to come by.
Yep.
That's a slow, tedious process, but let's keep building the brand, improving. Like we're getting a whole new website right now, trying to generate more video content for her, which I've been trying to get done for years, but she only listens as she sees fit. I love her. But build the brand and the business to the point where it's more than just you. When you are free yourself. Exactly, right? They have a third doctor again. They have a couple vet docs. So cool, let's build that team. Let's try and get another one soon. And then if you want to say, great, I want to take a month off, go stay at the family's house in Colorado and just ski and work on chiro patients out there. I could launch a whole campaign around that and say, hey, Dr. Kristen's coming to Colorado. Who needs chiro care for the month of blah, 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 in what year? It could be a whole promotional campaign. Now, how exciting is that? You get to go do what you actually prefer to be doing, the wellness stuff. You're making even more money wherever you decide to do it. And we can start building trips around that. I don't know, but that's the exciting part, is when you start growing outside the confines of what you originally had bottlenecked yourself into. And that's that growth. That's the I love growth, because it's like, well, how can we look at doing something differently? How do you flip the switch?
And that's where I with 3 kids, a wife, I'm 42, I'll be 43 in May. And you start, at this point in life, you start looking at not tomorrow, not the next week, not the next year, you look 15, 20 years down the road. And as a business owner, you don't have the best retirement plan usually. You haven't been investing in certain ways if you own a business, because you're putting all the money and time back into the business. And so you look at it and all right, in 20 years, when all my kids are out of high school and in college, or now and then out of college with the oldest, what am I going to do? If I'm just me running the business, I'm going to sell a bunch of equipment and walk away and make nothing. Or if I own multiple locations, multiple businesses, and I'm managing these businesses, not working in them, working on them, then there's something there that's transferable at the end of my working career to where I can experience life better later.
Well, because there's more to assets than just physical possessions.
100%.
Right? Like, it's not just my tech that I have here. I built, just a podcast, for example. I've got a project management system that manages the whole show. So if I want to pick up a new virtual assistant one day soon, I just have to plug him into all my systems. So that's more turnkey. Years ago, no, it was literally all me. But I have built this up because I want to be able to have a team running this eventually, but I still love running it myself. But my point is at least lay the groundwork to potentially replace yourself, like running your business and growing the F13 brand. There's more to the brand than just, there's a physical facility, there's equipment in it, but you also have the personnel. That's part of the assets. But then, what guidelines, protocols, have you documented everything? What is your training? What is your operational protocols, right? Then they see, okay, I have a I'm not just buying a physical business. I'm buying the F13 program.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
And you can implement it anywhere. Like you take the binder that's growing on a daily basis of systems, plans, and structure that you can then say, okay, cool. I love what you guys do. I love your brand. What would you think if I opened one up in wherever?
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. Cool. How do I do that? There you go.
Yep.
Just do this.
And it's not even like it's like some people look at that on the franchise model, but that's not the franchise. No. You could look at it as there's a lot of big corporations that have their own. They build their own gyms in their structure, in their office buildings, because that became more of a popular thing, right? Apple, Google, they're building
Air Products, and Uline have them right by us.
Boom. Yep. So they're saying we want to provide our employees a well-rounded workplace. If you need to go work out, relieve your stress, cool. Okay, well, who am I going to hire to figure that out? Am I going to bring in a consultant, or am I going to outsource it and let them just plug a full F13 in? Exactly. This is kind of what I'm hearing. It's like, great.
We've talked to those companies.
Yeah. So, Now, here's the funny thing. You're not the only one.
No.
I'm old school.
Yeah.
I was a Steel Fitness guy.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And obviously he's got Bethlehem and Allentown. But Tom was the owner. I think he still is. He was also, people didn't know, he had a few corporate gyms that he was also overseeing. And they were just business facilities. And just managing them. So some people want that.
Yeah.
They want to know that, not just from a liability standpoint, but then those employees see that, oh, they didn't just slap together their own gym. There's a bigger brand out there that we're following protocols on and guidelines on.
Yeah, these companies and businesses and corporations, they don't have time to take care of gyms.
No, it's Air Products. They know gas and air. They're
providing a service for their employees, so their employees are happier, healthier, and show up to work more.
Yep. Yeah.
How can we get people to show up on a daily basis and not leave during lunch break, or not leave early to go to the gym, or come in late, or whatever else to go to their gym? Let's just have it on site.
Well, it's 2024. I mean, for God's sakes, after the whole 2021, well, really end of 2019 through 2022 was a hot freaking mess.
Yep.
So companies now have started pulling a lot of personnel back.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, how are we going to make our people feel healthy, feel safe, but also want to be here?
Yeah.
Give them amenities, give them options, right? Maybe if they don't have their own gym, they say, great, let's set up a corporate contract saying we partner with F13 Performance in Allentown. Oh, by the way, they happen to have another facility down in Missing or something like that. Great, you can now bounce back and forth. I don't know, that's between you and them. Yeah. But it's being creative, being willing to grow something that is sustainable and that still symbolizes health, wellness, fitness, right? And if it's being led by people who also understand the mindset component, which I always felt was always something missing. I know you're not branded as a mindset coach, but obviously you met a mindset night, right? I said this that night, this podcast, we talk about health, business, and lifestyle. But I've had so many people with psychological backgrounds, psychiatry, and just mindset coaches over the years. I love talking about the mental game. Yeah. Because it drives the physical game.
I have some phenomenal clients that I work only with the lifestyle mindset coaching side of things, where I don't coach them in fitness.
Yeah.
I coach them on their lives.
Yeah.
And we work through victim mentality and imposter syndrome and self-talk and just past experiences and story work and things that, take up space in us that we don't realize are taking up space in us, that we can't bring in new positive experiences because something is still holding on to us from the past that we haven't learned to express or let go of or deal with, and it's blocking us from moving forward. This happened to me. The reason I am more successful now than I was 4 years ago is because 4 years ago I had a block. I knew I had a block. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I was looking for something more. I couldn't get more because I didn't have space in me for anything more. That sounds woo-woo or whatever, however you want to say it. But it's one of those things that I was not open to saying yes to new things because I was so guarded because of things I held on to and didn't deal with.
I think we're all guilty of that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I dealt with the death of both my parents, I dealt with it in different ways. A lot very unhealthy, and I say dealt with them. I never dealt with them. As the oldest son, brother, whatever, leader of the house, dad dies, I didn't shed a tear. Not that I didn't want to. I didn't notice I wasn't. You stand up. You're now the strong person in the house. You know, I lived in Chicago at the time. My family's back here, but in the presence of that room, I was now the strong person. That's what I thought I needed to be. Mom passes away. Same thing. Like, I'm now the strong person. I'm the rock, and that's always who I have been.
It's very typical in our I think a lot of male upbringing, right?
Yeah.
We think that we're meant to show strength through solidarity and just quote unquote manliness, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, then we learn through our growth that
it's such bullshit.
Part of being manly is literally getting out of your own way, letting that shit go. And like I put in the book, right? Like talking about Kristen, like getting vulnerable.
Yeah.
Part of true strength and manliness is actually also willing to get vulnerable and being more transparent in your relationship. Like one thing that I know I'm confident on is I know for a fact that Kristen will never have to worry about one, am I transparent, am I true? So she makes fun of it all the time. She's like, she's like, you just go live and talk about whatever you want. I'm like, I have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
If there's anything you know about me, I literally have nothing to hide.
Well, probably why I was so scared about our first podcast was I'm like, all right, what are we going to talk about? Yeah. I need to know what we're going to talk about, so I have a plan.
I was like, that's not how I roll.
And I asked you today in the kitchen, like, drinking some water, gave me this awesome Stanley, Men of Mindset Stanley, and I'm like, what are we talking about today? He's like, you know we don't plan this. I'm like, you're right, we don't. Yep. We'll just go. Let's see what comes up.
I'm a bit of a purist on that. It's like, when you walk into a regular, everyday conversation in life, is there a preset game plan? Maybe if you knew you were going to go have a meeting with a client.
If you're walking into a business or a meeting with a certain client, you have a plan and structure.
But if you keep it too structured, too tight, you're not allowing the freedom and the flexibility for creativity. And that's what comes into this, right? It's like, dude, I can't. That's why, like, since I started the show, I was like, dude, I will never have, like, I have people pitching me all the time to come on my show. Here's our preset questions list. I was like, well, that's going to get thrown out right away.
I was on a podcast a few months ago with a local insurance company. They're awesome, and he was doing local businesses. Jumped on there, and he sent me a PowerPoint prior to asking me questions, and then questions that he would ask in the structure of the show and everything else. So I knew exactly what I was talking about going into it.
Sure. Maybe that was his way of living a professional.
It was comfortable.
Yeah.
It was comfortable. Was it? And obviously it's authentic because you're honest and free and you're open what you're spending. It has a different feel to it going into. I knew what it was going to be. No, I thought about it with, like I said, starting my own podcast. Like, what would I do? What would my structure be? I don't know. I don't have the answer. I would probably like, hey Scott, you come over for a podcast today. I heard you talk about this on your podcast. Maybe let's touch on that real quick.
That's it.
And then I stopped there.
And that's all.
And wherever it went, that's where I would go.
And that's a lot. I know a lot of fellow podcasters. That's what they do. They'll have at least. They do want to know who's coming on the show, if it's a guest co-host or it's an interview. Like, I don't call them interviews. I call this hanging out. Like, you and I have equality.
Yep.
There's no authority. It's just, you say what you want, I say what I want. We're having a real conversation. Now, some people don't like that. Some people want a pure interview structured show. And I just tell them, great, go listen to somebody else's show. That's not how I roll, because after doing this so many years, I can't count anymore. There's been so many times where a conversation went down a path that I never expected it to go. Yeah. And it was awesome because the person felt comfortable. And I've had literally pretty successful people that have come on the show, and they're like, dude, no one ever asked me that.
Right.
And I never planned on talking about this. And that's the diamond, right? It's like, whoa, like, that was cool. Because they have the comfort and the freedom and the creativity, and it just went that route. And that's why I never changed it. I was like, dude, it's not a guarantee it's going to happen every time, but if and when it does, it's pretty cool. And that's fun.
And that's something with the mindset coaching and lifestyle coaching that I do outside of the gym. You have to be ready for those conversations. So I actually did my first 6-week corporate coaching. At a local business that hired me, and it was a 6-week program that I brought them through. I had a structure, I had a plan, and they didn't respond well to the week 4, whatever I had planned. They all bottled up. They got real closed off, and they
walls came up.
Big time. It was a tough room. I felt it, and
that's cool too. By the way, you can feel that energy.
The owner. So I pivoted. Yeah. So the next week, instead of following the structure that I had planned, week 5 was totally different.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, this didn't work, and they responded well to week 4, so I know week 5 is gonna be they're not gonna come in open.
Okay.
I need to flip it.
Okay.
So knowing that, I was able to flip it. going in, I changed the structure of my whole program.
Were they expecting you to flip it? Did the owner notice that?
No, so I talked to him and I let him know, like, hey, I'm going to change this coming in, just so you know the program that we had outlined. We're still going to hit the same result. Obviously, hit you from a different direction, and it's going to open everybody up. Did the same thing with another client that I virtually coach, awesome lady from New York, and she was, we were on her 5th and 6th call, and both of them, I always start with, where are you at today? How was your week? Because I'm not going to follow a structure of a program if you're not there. If you're not following along with that, and something came up that's hot and it's bothering you, or something that's on your mind, and we're trying to work on something else, it's not going to work. So I asked, where are you at today? And she just started rambling. I took my book, closed it, and said, cool, we're going this direction, let's go. And that's what you have to do. It's like, you have to have that.
There's some flexibility.
You have to have that liquid.
Yeah.
Like the same with the podcast, the structure we're doing now, if you came in with a spreadsheet, cool, we're going to do this for 15 minutes, this for 15 minutes, this for 15 minutes, close, wrap, cool. Awesome. But if I'm not, and it's like today, I walked in all amped up. I just came back from Muay Thai class.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you don't know where I'm
at.
at.
I didn't throw you in here right away. I let you, like, I wanted you to talk about that before we jazzed, came in.
Man. I was ready to go.
Yeah, I could tell. You were in a good place.
I was feeling good.
You looked happy, and I'm like, I want to hear about that. And we can talk about that on the show too, but it's like sometimes you just gotta, when you feel that energy, it's like, let's just hang out for a second.
It's one of those things, like, this free-flowing style of podcast allows us to be open and deal with what's in our mind today, and where the conversation goes. It's not structured. Like, if we had a structure that you sent me last week and I filled out, like, cool, I'm going to go to this podcast and talk about this, but I had a bad morning, and my head's not in it, and I'm off balance and off key, maybe it wouldn't work so well.
Well, then you might come across robotic. You might come across robotic because, well, that's our structure. I don't want to upset Scott and, like, not follow that path, right. Or have a cue card set up over here, which dudes do that, dude. I'm like, I'm not having a cue card. This office isn't that big. I mean, but yeah, I mean, you have somebody say, hey, please follow these cue. No. We're not the. I don't like the news. So the negative news networks. I don't follow them. I don't watch them. No. I don't care what side or what political front you're on. They're all a bunch of puppets. It's just whatever that says on the cue card or on your monitor is what you got to say. No, I don't agree with it. We haven't had real news since, I think, people like Walter Cronkite. Like
that's probably before that.
That's the point.
I don't know if we've experienced it. I mean, I'm only 40, so.
Yeah. I'll be 47 this year.
Yeah. I'm 43 in May, so we're still young. A lot of years.
Age is only a number, though.
Yeah.
I just got back. I just got back from the Hot Shots reunion, and a couple of dudes like, other than the salt and pepper, dude, you look pretty good. I was like, what's wrong with the salt and pepper? Like, well, it just you look older. Yeah. And I was like, that was kicking in when we were still fighting fire together. Like, but hey, they said I was aging well, and I was like, thanks. I don't know. Well,
the same thing. I was at Muay Thai today, and throwing kicks, and the instructor was like, wow, like, you've done this before. I'm like, yeah, but it's like 20, 25 years ago. She's like, how old are you? Yeah. I'm like 42. She's like, oh, wouldn't have guessed that. Like, yeah, thanks. Cool. But yeah.
Well, let's full circle that. So all of those last couple points just now goes back to, age is a numerical value. I truly believe that, and nowadays you can get all kinds of genetic analysis testing done and blood work done, and now the new thing is like, what is your actual age based on your healthy lifestyle? But even if you didn't pay for the advanced testing, that is a big part of health and wellness, right? Is how are you living your life? Your age does not designate where you're at. Like when I'm 60, I'll be doing crap that I'm doing now. I already have that in my game plan. It's already hard-coded into 100%. My mindset. It's my way of life.
One of the great things about having kids, Scott, to keep you young.
I don't know if I agree with that. I feel like lying there a little bit. But maybe young in a different way.
Yeah.
Maybe young in a different way.
They keep you active. They keep you active. Yeah. So people that aren't already active, having kids will force you into activity.
Yeah. And granted, because Chris and I are in the permanent aunt and uncle role, we see that as exhausting. But actually from the Men of Mindset night, you had mentioned, you and Andre hit on this a couple times, and Brad, about time management, living in the moment, and like, hey, when your kid wants to build a puzzle, then you just stop. Hopefully that phone was nowhere near you, but we're all guilty of holding on to that phone. That was a big theme that night. When Brad got to that night, he put his phone off to the side.
Table.
Yeah, he never touched it the whole night. Now Andre did have his, but he was taking notes. Right, he was in it for his own note taking. And he's a high-level performer, but even he was having fun and taking notes. But the whole point of that conversation was, you made a great example of that. You know, when my daughter wants to build a puzzle,
right?
All right, let's be all in, right? Let's build the most epic puzzle ever. Let's have 100% good time, because we all have the same 24 hours in a day. But at that moment, you in the dad role, you need to give them 100% of your energy. And then, okay, yeah, that consultative contract thing you got to write up or practice for the business, dude, I'll just have to do that later. It's not a big deal, right? Mm-hmm. Because you chose to become a parent.
Yeah. So
you're putting your kids first. Yeah,
it's one of those things, like, you know, it's so funny that people go around and they preach balance. Mm. And I don't know your opinion. I've never said this to you before, but I think balance is bullshit.
I've reached that point.
I think it's a false narrative that people are trying to sell to other people. And I'll elaborate on it real quick.
Where you're going.
I'll elaborate on it real quick. So, work-life balance, family, all that stuff. Something has to give. You can't be good at all of it. Mm-hmm. So, my business is successful. When I prioritize family, my business is successful, but it could be more successful.
Sure.
Okay? Now, I did take about, I told my wife, about 18 months, I'm like, listen, I got to hit hard on some business stuff over the next year and a half to set us up for
to have the freedom.
More family freedom, more family time, and a better future. So there's going to be a night or two, or sometime I'm going to work late. So some family time did sacrifice. Mm-hmm. Now, with like balance, I spent time with my family and work was growing, but one will always grow faster.
Yes.
You can't be balanced in both. So one will always suffer based on the priority that you choose at that time. And I make it a point to, tell my wife, like, cool, like this week we're gonna go in Friday, get induced, have a baby, and I'm gonna turn my laptop off, I'm gonna turn my phone off, and business will hit it.
That's why Rob is here today, by the way.
Things won't move forward.
Because he's like, we're about to get induced. He's like, so please tell me you got a slot on Monday. Let's get this finally recorded, because I'm all in for that next phase, and I can't be distracted, right? Yep. It's all in with the wifey and third child, right? And I respect that.
So like next week, things will happen at my business that will not allow it to move forward at the pace I would want it to, because I'm not going to be present and involved in pushing it.
And you have to trust your team.
And it's not going to burn down. It's going to be fine. Yeah. But it's not like I'm a very aggressive person when I focus on something, so things advance quicker. Mm-hmm. But what matters at that time, the priority that I choose at that time, where I'm going to put my time, so the scale's going to tip off balance to family.
We talked about that night in mindset, because I called you super dad, because you are. I mean, when I see people with certain strengths, I love to recognize that, because it impresses me. I never had that initiative or that gene. I take that energy and I put it into other things.
Right.
Like I think you called me, wasn't an organizer or whatever. I made fun of myself that night. I started the show and I said, hey Rob, what's wrong?
You're a facilitator.
Yeah, thank you. Call me a facilitator.
So I've tried to use that title for myself too. Like, I'd like to bring people together and facilitate forward motion with people and facilitate groups and relationships.
See, I get high off of it.
Yeah.
I literally get happy.
You're a facilitator. You brought those room of guys together, and you started the conversation, and then you sat back, and you let 5 dudes just riff. Yeah. It was great. Yeah. And so you facilitated that night.
It was challenging, because even though I've been podcasting for so long, I've never had to do it with that many microphones. Yeah. And I was having so much fun that I wanted to interject a couple of times, and I had to catch myself, because there was too much energy being exchanged. Mm-hmm. Or I wanted to hear somebody else's perspective. So the only time I did it was like, Rob, what do you got on that? Right? That's what I wanted out of that whole evening. But real quick, back to that point. Yep. We talked a little bit about that night. I 100% agree with you, because when I went back to school on nights and weekends, because I thought I needed this college degree to complete that chapter before I went to be a firefighter, I changed majors so many times because I was just doing classes on nights and weekends over many years in my 20s. So I was just, whenever it gets done, it gets done. So I was in IT, I was in IS, I was in business management, but then I started doing some philosophy. Then I found psychology. Mm-hmm. So when I finished, I was a dual major, psychology and marketing. Right. I tell people to this day, everything I do today in sales and marketing has nothing to do with that. The only thing that did was teach me that I can complete a program and follow curriculum and do well. Yep. But I say college makes sense and the university makes sense for sciences. My wife, she's a doctor.
You have to have. There's certain careers you have.
Psychology.
To study.
The psychology is what I still hit on to this day. Not just the mindset piece, but what you just said. A great professor of mine explained it, and everybody's different. Maybe you have 6 domains, maybe it's 7 domains. But the point is, he's like, you can take everybody's stress and figure out that on balance, it's not about balance. It's about allowing flow throughout your different priorities in life to adapt and change. And if you could be more aware of the balancing act that you're attempting to do,
exactly,
and allow the flexibility to flow, then, quote, you are balancing life, right? But they explain it as this, like picture a bar graph, right? You have your vertical and your horizontal axis. Now picture, you put 6 notches on that, and let's say one of them is your career or business.
Yep.
Another one is your family, kids, whatever. Another one, maybe you don't have a family, so the other one's education. Maybe you're in school, right? Doing advanced education, whatever. Yep. Another one is your health, your fitness, your wellness, right? Like you take those, maybe it's only 5. Like you decide what are the top 5, 6, 7 domains, because every psychology expert might go with 6, might go with 7, whatever. You put them on there, and now measure them where you're at today.
And they can't all be up.
And that's the point. There's a 0 axis, right? You're going to have some that may fall below the 0 axis. Yep. You may have others that are shooting way above. Like when you were getting your business going, dude, business is a top priority. Yep. When you and your wife are having another child, whoop, family goes up, even more focus. So you have to allow some other domains to fall a little, but don't allow them to drop completely off the map, because that's where stress comes in.
That's where you have to be aware, like that one dropped below the axis. Like, no, I have to bring that up a little bit, so something else has to come down a hair.
Exactly.
And it's like, your scale is never going to be like this. It's always going to be tipped one way or the other.
And that was their point. They said, we all the same 100% energy. Exactly. The awareness. And that was one of the biggest things I took out of that education. And that was probably more of a senior level course. That was probably like a level 3, level 400 course. And I loved it. I'll never forget it, because it was like a bomb went off in my head.
Yeah.
Because I was working a full-time career. I was trying to pay for school. I was trying to bang out a degree. I was considering leaving it all behind to go do firefighting. I was sort of kind of single, hot mess romantically. Really, that continued on until I met my wife. So that was always a low priority to me. Romance was always low priority to me. I never took it seriously. But part of that was, if you allow too many of the domains to fall below the 0 axis, like the I don't give a fuck protocol, you're asking for problems, right? You're not allowing a couple of domains to succeed. And unfortunately, there are a few people who do that. Yeah. Right? And
we don't understand. I can never relate or understand.
No, I can't understand it, right?
There is that. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, and there are some people may watch this or hear this, and they're like, oh my God, I might be that guy or girl. And I'm not criticizing. What I'm saying is, what you just said earlier, awareness. Yeah. Be aware of it so you can work on it. Maybe it is as simple as the old school protocol here, not on a computer. Take a piece of paper, draw that out, and measure yourself. Say, great, I have 100% energy. So let's say it's 5 domains. Divide by 20% each, right? 5 times 20 is 100. I don't know about this new modern math crap. It's 5 times 20 is 100%. Yeah. So just simple math. Let's give them 20% each. Is it high or low? Yep. And if it is below the 0 axis, that math better work out. That extra 10% 0 better be added on to one of those other domains. This is simple math. Yep. It's actually a really great exercise. That's why I'm glad you brought this up.
It's one of those things. One thing I learned to do was, define what my priorities and values are at that time in my life.
True.
Just step back there first. What's my priority right now? At the time of growing a business, or time of growing a family, or the time of my personal fitness when I want to compete? What mattered? What was my priority? So I knew I'd be able to say, Meredith, my wife, I'm being married. Just so you know, I need 12 months. I'm going to crank on the business. Yeah. This is going up, which means I'm going to miss a couple dinners. Yeah. So when you make those choices, then she's aware, I'm aware, I make the choice that's going to...
Well, you're communicating too.
But it's one of those things, right? You say it out loud, it doesn't have to be to her. So say if you don't have a wife, you still want to say it to somebody. Say it out loud. More things you say out loud and more things you talk about vocally in person or to somebody else, the better chance you're going to follow through on.
Well, that's an important point back to connection. So I used to be that guy that says, I never had a problem making friends per se, but I've always had different circles of friends, the mountain biking world, the skiing world, all that. But sometimes you need, and I truly believe this as men, and I know women are really good at this. My wife was just out with all her cousins on Saturday. I was playing Mr. Uber, whatever. The point is, you have to have this inner circle of trust. Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 3, maybe it's 5. I know most men, we have a circle of influence.
Yep.
But what is the core trusted, valued members? It's very few.
Well, yeah.
Like I have my oldest best friend. He lives in South Carolina. I'm on a text thread with him and 2 of my other oldest friends, and it literally blows up all day, every day, and we just keep it going. And I literally branded it Ass Clowns because I needed to rebrand it, and because we're just a bunch of asses, and we can be clowning around. But there's sometimes stuff going on that thread that I want nothing to do with it. But then we'll hit on something. And I'm always paying attention because we've known each other for so long. I know one of them are having a bad week, bad day, problems with the career, problems with the wife. And even if we can't see each other physically, we can be there for each other. Or if I needed a trusted person to bounce something random off of, I know they'll tell me if it sounds crazy or not. Right? That's that inner circle of trust. But that's that sounding board. Like, I don't talk about all my business stuff with my wife. She and I are way different when it comes to our business.
My wife works in the hospital.
Yeah, she's a high level, very intelligent.
Yeah.
Is she PhD? I don't even know. I mean, it's like, she's smart.
Yeah, she's a doctorate in pharmacy. She does clinical trials for the hospital. Yeah. In oncology.
Smart cookie. My wife.
One of us had to be.
Large animal doctor, went to Cornell, UPenn. How did we find these ladies?
I'm just hoping she doesn't figure it out.
I agree. We have that in common. So I think that helped brought us together. We're like, what the hell do our silly asses find that? Yeah. We always make the joke, my wife, she's like, well, I always did love, assholes. I was like, well, I'm a good one then.
Yeah, perfect. This makes sense now. So you did figure it out. She was looking for an asshole.
Yeah, there we go. I was like, all right, so I got to keep that going. Now, it doesn't mean to keep being that, If there's always that natural percentage that just comes out. But yeah, there's that piece of just communication, awareness, flexibility. Like that's, if we go back to that point of, or do you have life balance? That's where I agree with you. There's so many. I know you could probably go off. That's a whole other show. These 19, 21-year-old life coaches. Oh, God. I hope one of you see this and you make a negative comment. You haven't even lived your life yet. So, no, you're not a life coach. But also, what life are you talking about? TikTok? I mean, sorry. And maybe I'm being a little aggressive right now, but seriously, you want to build yourself into a coach. I respect that. I love people at a young age who are already thinking about stuff like this before you and I even considered it. That's not what I'm belittling. I'm just saying you need a little more life under your belt. So don't just start ripping the lid off and act like you know everything, because I still don't know anything. No. We're still leveling up. We're still learning. 100%. So just be careful, because I see a lot of this stuff out there now, and I'm like, these life coaches and life balance, and I'm like, yeah, you haven't lived enough life yet to even know what quote unquote life balance is, and that's what we're trying to talk about here.
It's one of those things, like the day you don't learn something, it's a wasted day. Yeah. So after so many years and age and experience, if you learn something every day for so long, there's some experience, there's some knowledge there. Yeah. 19-year-old life coach, not a ton of experience. You might have had a very traumatic first 19 years of your life. Mm-hmm. That's something I will never understand, because a 19-year-old could teach me something. I will freely say I could definitely learn something.
I'm not declining that. I agree with that.
You can learn something from everybody, anywhere.
It's a different generation. We're older.
Yeah, right? You can learn a lot. But it'd be hard to take life lessons and experience and life knowledge from someone who hasn't lived much life yet. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We've all experienced different things. So.
You've done stuff with ESPN in your career, and you've lived in Chicago. I'm not a fan of Chicago, right? But I've fought wildfires for a couple years, and I've done one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet. Doesn't mean I know more than anybody else. It just means that I was willing to take really silly risks or crazy risks to figure things out or test myself, and that's where a lot of growth comes from. If you had to go big picture, it doesn't matter if you're 18, 19, going on 47, 43, whatever, right? It's being willing to test yourself, take risks, and for some people it might be, calculated risks. I don't care. If you live in a bubble and you're afraid of taking risks in life, I truly believe you're not going to reach the same level of success as you could if you're willing to make a mistake. And you're willing to fuck up.
It comes back to where this whole conversation started today, an hour ago, whatever we started.
It's great, full circle.
Being able to say yes. Mm-hmm. The first podcast I sat down there, I was scared shitless. In front of I can talk to you all day long. You put a microphone in my hand, I clam up.
It was hilarious.
Dude, I get tight real quick.
Yeah. You did have a good
I was sweating, I was pumped, just squeezing this freaking microphone.
It was awesome.
But I said yes. I said yes, and now it's a day later. Like I can sit here. If you want to do this for 10 hours, let's rock. Let's Joe Rogan this thing, you know?
And that's the point, right? Like, Joe Rogan's nobody fancy. Now, granted, he has put in enough reps running the old Fear Factor show, right? He was an MMA guy. He started doing the MMA sportscasting before he went viral, right? All of those things. He's a comedian, right? Comedians are one of the greatest examples of putting themselves out there, dude.
There's some of the most well-read and knowledgeable people because they can. They know. They have so much knowledge, they know how to make jokes about it.
They take risks every single day they go on stage. Or go on video or whatever. So I have respect for comedians. And Joe Rogan's killing it, right? I mean, he built a podcast out of nothing and then sold it for millions upon millions of dollars to Spotify. He's a great testament to this platform. Now, is that my target? No, I just like having great conversations. I mean, if somebody thinks I'm worth that much one day, thank you. And I'll be happy to take that. But I would pass that on. And that's what he's doing now, too. That's what I love about that guy, right? He built his own comedy center out in Texas. He's inviting comedians out of California because California's a hot mess, right? All of those variables. It's like, he's still finding a way to pass it on.
This is great. Our next, I'm really excited. Our next Enlifted weekend event, Enlifted Experience, is actually going to be in Austin, Texas.
Oh yeah,
in September, last week in September. So
very cool. All right, he's moving it around a little bit.
So we're going to Austin, and I know like the mecca that Austin has become for coaching and podcasting and everything else. Like I'm pumped.
Yeah, the rumors I've been hearing is it's kind of like how Silicon Valley and California became like the tech mecca, right? But like Austin is a symbolism of a lot of newfound freedom and creativity, like you said, coaching, technology, podcasting, the comedy market. Like Austin,
they call it the Rogan effect. Once you move there, the whole area it was already a cool town. Like I've been there a long time ago. Yeah. But like, he just brought in a whole new.
You don't want to move there right now because the cost of living just shot through.
Oh no, I need my seasons. I'm a Northeast guy.
Yeah, I'm a Northeast guy too.
Well, I mean, give me Utah at some point in my life. I might be moving, but I'll be Northeast for a while.
It's still a little weird over there with the whole Mormon strict thing. I have friends. I have friends that fall fire with them. I love going there to ski.
Love it out there.
But like Kristen, if she can't get a glass of wine on the side of the mountain when we're skiing,
she
still can't do that.
Yeah,
she was not happy about that. She's like, we're not going back. I was like, babe, don't judge the state based on the wine on the side of the slope. I was like, just bring a road soda in your backpack or something like that. So there's ways to work around things.
That's one of those things. I would live in Utah.
Yeah. So, real quick, since you mentioned Enlifted, because we do have to bring the show to a close. We've hit on a lot of good shit today, and I knew we would.
It's been all over the place. I love it.
So the Enlifted thing's coming up, 2024. You guys are going to do something in Austin.
Right now, last weekend in September in Austin.
Okay. I know we still got to get Mark to come up here, dude.
Yeah, Mark is he's going to.
Shout out to Mark England.
I think he's going to El Salvador.
Oh, nice.
For a couple weeks.
Okay.
Actually, he might have left this week.
Cool.
Now he'll be back in the area. He has family from the area. So,
okay.
We'll be up in Pennsylvania at some point.
All right. And then maybe that'll be timed well with another upcoming Man of Mindset or something like that, or we'll just have him come here and I'll set up more mics and we'll just hang out.
He's. I mean, the program they have at Enlifted and the certifications I went through there, man, it's been life changing. Like I went through, like I said before, hundreds of thousands of hours of certifications and studying with fitness and movement and everything else. But those two certifications I got there, that's what shot my experience up, what shot my successfulness up. Whatever word you got there, whatever.
The reach.
Yeah. That's what brought me to the next level professionally as well.
Well, that goes back to your point earlier in the show. If you bottleneck your life too tightly, you don't allow flexibility for freedom. When you and I got a lot closer years ago, I never heard anything about Enlifted, and then all of a sudden he's doing Enlifted and he's a certified coach. I'm like, well, where'd that come from? And then you're obviously building your own coaching practice, separately from F13. Well, it's intertwined with it, but the whole point is, some people need that separate world, and I'm excited for you.
Learning that part of things made me a better coach for my athletes, for the ones that the fitness side of things, because you learn how to listen and ask questions better. You learn the right questions to ask, and help them move forward at a better rate because you know what's going on now. You know how to work around the mindset piece along with reps and sets. Yeah,
I love it, man. It's just cool to see people. Well, in your life, my life, all of each other's lives, when you see people just leveling up and not slowing down, or when they are about to unleash, let's say, a third child to the world, they're not slowing down, they're just smart enough, like we said, quote-unquote balance, right? I'm going to recalibrate, readapt to ensure the continued success. That to me is symbolic of a successful life. Those who can continue, adapt, and flow, and they don't look at a big speed bump coming as an actual speed bump. No. It's like, oh no, it's a chance for me to kind of reset, recalibrate, and then as soon as I get through that chapter, okay, then I take that energy and move it back into wherever I need it to go, or there's another new thing opening up, right? Yeah. That's that piece. That's why I agree with you that life balance, there's so much more to that.
I mean, you're a cyclist, man. If you're just riding a bike on a flat road, that's pretty boring.
Yeah.
You need a speed bump, you need a hill, you need a up and down every now and then. You need that excitement to make it worth it.
Yeah.
You really do.
Believe me, when I do 100-mile bike rides, it's like, that could be boring for a lot of people. So I purposely pick routes that are going to have some creativity, some turns, some rolling hills. You know, it depends on what training protocol I'm following that ride. Like, yeah, you're right. That's a long day. Yeah. And it's not for everybody. No. But one thing I love about cycling is, back to that mindset piece, I get put into a different place mentally. When I'm on that bike, I do a lot of creative thinking. I'm focusing on the road, but it takes me to a different wavelength than I would be here in the home studio. Or it's the same thing when I'm mountain biking. My mountain biking mindset is differently than my road biking.
Oh yeah, you have to be.
Those are both different than when I'm skiing.
Yeah.
Right? That's different when I'm running a chainsaw in my woods. You know, there's all these different thought processes, and I hit on different things for my growth differently depending on what I'm doing.
I think you could say something for me today, but actually, moment of clarity with you saying that, just the mindset. Like I said, I came out of Muay Thai today. Mm-hmm. I was just happy. I got done with training. I was happy.
Yeah.
And I think that's because the mindset I had when I was in it. When I could train in the gym, just because of years of doing it, I could do all the motions and work hard and sweat and lift heavy weights, and not really be present in the moment.
Yeah.
But when I was training today, I think I was so hyper-focused and so ultra-present in that hour of training that I came out happy. Because it was so focused and so centralized on that hour and what I was doing.
You created a place in your life where it was completely new.
Yeah.
You're the rookie, right?
I was a rookie.
It's like when I went for firefighting, I didn't have the freedom or the flexibility to do anything else.
Right.
That was a life-risking career choice. And I think back to that saying, everything else got pushed away. And it was just like, all right, for that moment, like for you, I'm all in on this. Yep. It's probably very freeing.
Yeah. That's probably why I came out so happy today. It's one of those things that shut my mind off for an hour, and I focused on whether I was not flat-footed or I was on my toes or rotating enough or like how I was striking or like I was connected to every movement I did, and I was listening and learning and taking criticism. It was awesome. Yeah. It was cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, dude.
I think more people need to experience that, like just to be centered and focused that hard on anything. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be a athletic endeavor. It could be art. It could be music. It could be whatever it is. Just to be that centrally focused on something. Yeah. It's a freeing experience.
It's podcasting. This is different than my normal podcasting, but when I'm on Zoom, that door's closed. Wife is up there with the dog, and I'm just all in with my co-host virtually over the webcam. That version is way different than this, right? It's a different type of immersion.
Yeah.
And different type of focus. And I look at all of these as growth and learning. So,
yeah. That's cool.
But thanks for making it into the home studio today. You're now the second appearance. You were
supposed
to be the first, but
it's okay. Kids, dude.
Yeah.
But
then Wes contacted me. Wes is like, dude, do you want to go skiing and podcasting? And I'm like, oh, you know how to get me, bro. I was like, all right, let me figure out the home studio, and then so he at least got me to bring the stools in, and these were still on order, and then,
this is great.
You know, there's always change happening in this house. I never know what's going to happen next.
So this is a cool spot, and I'm definitely taking notes.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for hanging out for the live feed here in the Facebook world, because I haven't done it in a while, and I figure I'm just going to take advantage of that. This will be releasing in the podcasting world soon. So obviously YouTube, all your favorite podcasting world, Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. So thanks for tuning in. For my standard show protocol, I always like my co-host to close it out. From today, how do you want to close it out? What do you want to sum it up with?
Say yes. It's whatever you're afraid of.
I like that.
That's it. That's how the conversation started.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be here today if I didn't say yes 8 years ago to you to put a microphone on my face.
Yeah. And I never thought I'd be the guy to get him into an uncomfortable situation.
If it's scary, try it.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
You might grow a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If not, you'll have fun doing it.
That's it. All right. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out, ladies and gentlemen. And remember, we're here to fuel your health, your business, and lifestyle. Rob helped us do that today. Thanks for tuning in. Follow us at Live the Fuel. And You too can live the fuel, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.